So this is another story time type video for those of you who enjoy it. The last one did really well, so I don't know, maybe this one will do well. This is something I think I've actually already covered in a previous storytime video. I think it was anyway. I think I've touched on it a little bit, but this is something I spend a lot of time thinking about, something that I've done like a lot of comparing of in my head in the past, and something like I said that I've thought about a lot. So I figured maybe we would dedicate our own video to it, give it its special place, and maybe people who didn't see the last one will see it here. Maybe I'll be able to explain it a little bit more thoroughly. That being said, since it is kind of concise, since I've thought about it so much, I know maybe a little bit more of what I want to talk about. Some of these I just go on rambling like I am for this introduction. But with that being said, this is the comparison between work and college, or I guess if you want to go in chronological order, for most people it would be like college and then working full time. So in college is like a background for myself. I didn't really, I was lucky enough to not have to work full time or like 20 hours or whatever, really any amount while I was actually in class. On my vacations, I would go home and then work on the side to make up like enough spending money. But like I said, I was lucky enough to have parents, or like a parent, that helped me out throughout college and helped like cover me if I was getting in hard times. But I've also talked about it a lot. I did a lot of reselling back in high school, or not in high school, but in college and stuff, and it was definitely popping off back then. So I was able to make enough money to kind of keep my like clothing needs and wants satisfied, I suppose. So that's kind of how I did that. And then I was really like frugal. Like I don't know if Alex and I really talk about it in our old videos, but I don't know, maybe you'll be able to tell, especially on maybe like we talk about like the 10 deep stuff, and like we have a lot of is it worth it, like supreme and whatnot, quality wise. So there's a lot of stuff like that, and I still definitely try to be more frugal, I guess, or aware of my spending, though we have a lot of unboxings as you guys see. But I think it's all good for the channel, and this is my hobby, so I like to clump it all in together, maybe justify it like that. But I don't know, that's a little bit of a background, though. I didn't really work in college except for on my vacations, which kind of sucked, because then I'd be on vacation but I'd be actually working then instead of doing homework. So there was that. But the main point of bringing that up is that I did not work full-time during college, and then obviously now I work full-time. So I write code. I went to college to be a computer scientist, no doctor, but computer scientist nonetheless, or a scientist nonetheless. And it's a lot different, especially like coming out of the gate, the transition between college and working full-time. This, like I mentioned in the beginning, I really thought about it, and like I made these comparisons, and I really came up with like a pro and con for each, like something good and bad about college, and then good and bad about working full-time, that really stand out and are like the biggest comparison that I would make. And kind of my advice, like I try to give advice in these videos too, so my advice to like anybody kind of asking about what's this transition look like out of college into working full-time. So the I guess we'll start with like the bad thing for college, which is probably the most obvious thing that is there. It is homework and all this stuff, like how attentive you need to be, how much time it consumes, how much effort and just like emotion and everything you have to put into it. Especially like I know there's some majors that are easier than others, and then also some people are just like talented in certain areas, so maybe you're taking a harder set of courses, maybe you're taking an easier set of courses. This will fluctuate, but I think everybody can kind of agree that college is, for the most part, pretty difficult, especially once you get into those later years and you get in those higher level classes that are like very specific to something, and it's really like narrowed down and has like a lot of difficult high level questions and high level homework that requires a lot of time. Like my senior year, I would have computer science homeworks I would take, I don't know, like I think the worst was like 40 hours, and it was like a 2-week assignment. So you'd have to put in, you'd have to find 40 hours to put into that. And then on top of that, you got like 4 other classes that you have homeworks and readings for as well that you got to find time for. That was just definitely like the worst case scenario, though. For the most part, it wasn't like 40-hour homeworks. It was a lot shorter than that for the most part. But that's just an example of like how just intensive the homework and stuff could be. And this is all time that needs to be put into that homework outside of class. So you're in class for your like 45 minutes or like hour and 15, or if it's like one of those special like longer classes, you're in there for longer. But you're in there for that amount of time, and then outside of class you need to figure out how you can like put that time into it. And for assignments like that, I was up till like 11, 12 every night just working on homework. And you'd get out of class, you'd get home, I'd have dinner, and then it'd be straight back to homework. And then I'd like chill for a bit, like go for a run, come home, like give myself a little bit of break, and then straight back to the homework. And at night I'd like hop in bed, maybe watch TV for like an hour, and then like the next day it was right back at it. You wake up, go to class, in between classes, work on homework as much as you could. And it never really stopped. Like, it sucked because you'd come home and you were still doing your work. Like, they gave you the work, but it never really stopped. It just kept going. And this sounds really like not very like hopeful or whatever. I'm painting a very dark picture for people who are in college, but it gets better, I guess. But yeah, it's just like the thing with college, like I said, is you get the homework and then you go home and you bring everything home with you, and it doesn't really stop. The homework keeps coming. You have vacations where you get little breaks off, and like summer vacation for sure is nice. But then that would be the con for college, and then you compare it to its counterpart of working full time, graduating from college. You go, you put in your 8 hours or however long, your 8-9 hours, and then you come home, and if you're doing a good job, it should be just done, and like you don't have to think about it at all anyway, or like you really don't have to think about it at all. And then just the next day, turn that light switch back on in your brain for that section of what you have to concentrate on, and then after your 8 hours, once again, just turn it off, go home, do something completely different. You don't have to focus on it, and you're not really like dreading the never-endingness of it. But there's also the fact that you have to work for the rest of your life, which is or up until retirement, which is also a gloomy way to look at it. But I think those are really the two, or that's like the first kind of like pro con that I wanted to talk about, like the major one for college. You have your homework, you come home, you still got your homework, the next day you got more homework, you come home, you do it, and it's a never-ending cycle. It's really tough. And then compared to working full-time after graduating, you come home from your 8 hours, or you clock in, do your 8 hours, you come home, you just like forget about it completely. But once again, like say you are behind on something, maybe you have to put in overtime, but for the most part, like most days, you come home, you just forget about it, you turn that off, do whatever else you want, and then you gotta keep doing that. But at least you get your free time. And then the second part that I want to talk about is just how nice it was in college to just be so like free, I guess. So I'd have, probably like 5 classes a semester, and that's like separated throughout the week, obviously. So I'd have like probably 2-3 classes per day, like including like lectures and discussions. I really tried to avoid doing a lot of discussions because I thought they were kind of pointless. Like, I've never been one to like speak up in a like group setting, so I wasn't really getting much out of them. I definitely feel like people who go there with their problems and kind of want to talk about everything and discuss it probably get more out of it. But just like my nature of just being like a little bit more introverted to go along with that wording, I didn't really get a whole lot out of it. So I generally like to just focus on, like, I'd rather have that time of discussion period just to do my homework and stuff. So I like to avoid those. So usually it was like 2-3 classes a day, and you go, you have your class, you do like you're typically like 45 minutes, and then in between that and the next class, I'd be like doing homework and stuff. I'd be able to like I'd always try to set up my schedule to, like come home for lunch and then I'd head back to campus, which it always worked out that we lived like really close to campus. And I went to University of Iowa in Iowa City, Iowa, which is like super friendly to pedestrians where you can just walk around all the time. Like, I think the longest walk we ever had to campus was like 12 minutes. Maybe like if it was on the complete opposite end, it'd be like a 15-minute walk, but still wasn't really that bad. So, I really enjoyed, just like I'd get out of class, I'd walk home, throw in my earbuds, listen to music, walk home, have lunch, and I'd be able to walk. Like I probably put in like 2 miles a day just walking back and forth to classes, which sure, maybe it was a little bit of time wasted, but I really enjoyed it. I was outside a lot. I was getting a little bit of additional exercise, just walking around, getting some fresh air, or as fresh as Iowa City air is, but I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the like freedom in between classes and like the come and go nature of everything, of just how free it was. Once again, it was kind of like a free feeling, just being able to walk around, even though with what we just talked about, you kind of are just like locked into this like never-ending cycle of homework. But to compare that once again to the counterpart, which I hope I described this so it sounded like a pro, something that I enjoyed, and then we compare it to the con of working full-time, is that you clock in, and we said before, you clock in, you put in your 8 hours, and then you're done. But for those 8 hours, you're there, you're like brains on, you're focusing on your stuff, or else you're gonna get in trouble. Maybe you're not doing a good job. You gotta focus on your stuff and do your job. They expect your like full 8 hours, 40 hours a week or whatever, so you have to clock in and do all that. But I guess there's not a whole lot to describe as far as that part of it goes. Like, college, it was nice to have the breaks in between stuff and walking around. Really just, I can still listen to music at work and stuff, but it just, it gets kind of old sitting there for 8 hours doing the same exact thing. Not being able to like get up and take a break, which I guess if you really wanted to, you could like lengthen your workday, which like where I work, some people will do this. They'll take like an hour and a half, 2 hour lunch, and they'll go like, well, they used to take like an hour and a half, 2 hour lunch. I've been working from home for like a year now, so it's a little bit different. But they used to like take a long lunch and they'd go like eat in the cafeteria or whatever, and then go exercise and stuff, go like maybe walk outside a little bit. That's where I work. They have like a nice walking path going around the building. So some people would do that, and I feel like that's like a nice escape in what I was talking about. But for me, when I'm at these like job locations, like I'm at work, I just kind of want to get back home and do my own thing afterwards. So I don't really want to prolong staying there. Like I work out and they have a really nice gym there, but I was always like, oh, I'd rather just like get home and be like a little bit relieved to kind of finally like be done with the day officially, and then like go work out and just kind of relax and everything. But yeah, so it is different for other people. I'm sure like people who don't mind being gone from their house or whatever for like 10-12 hours a day could just take like small breaks, like half an hour breaks in the morning and the afternoon and a long lunch and stuff, and be really happy. But that's another thing that I've like always thought of. Like I said, they're kind of like the two pros and cons for each of them, or like the one pro and con for each of them that I've always really thought of, and that's what they are. So to just like reiterate it, for college, you got the con of the never-ending homework, but compared to working full-time after you graduate, you go in, you do your 8 hours, you're done, and it's just kind of like it's free time. I'm doing this type of stuff right now. It was a lot more difficult to find a time to like shoot a video and then like edit it and everything. If you followed the channel back then when I was in college, like 2 years ago at this point, I definitely had a lot less uploads, but nowadays I got like a lot more free time, so upload a lot more. And then also the other one that we just talked about, in college, it was nice to just like be able to get up after your class, go like walk home, walk back and stuff. Yes, you had homework happening, but you could still just like get up and leave, which was nice. And then to compare it to work or working full time, you're stuck there for your 8 hours. Typically there's like some wiggle room there, but it's a lot longer of a chunk that you got to be there for than a typical like class where it's like 45 minutes, hour 15, the power hour. But yeah, that's pretty, or maybe it was 55 minutes. I forget, man. I'm getting old now, but that's kind of like how I've always viewed college and working full time. And I hope I've given you guys a kind of accurate description. I've also tried to paint the picture in a way that it's not going to be exactly like this for everybody. Like I said, if you guys don't mind being at work a little bit longer, you can section out these breaks. And then also in the world that we find ourselves in today with the pandemic, if you're in like my field of work or some other fields of work, you're working from home, which it's a lot more flexible, where you could structure your day like this. You could section a break in the morning, break in the afternoon. But I think like kind of the thing that I'm trying to get at with work versus college in that sense is just that it's like a lot bigger chunk that you got to do. And as much as you can try to space it out, it's still pretty much kind of got to be a more condensed block of time that's going to be this big like chunk of work. Whereas like college, it's just like 45 minutes, 55 minutes. It's like an hour on general, or on average, I suppose. But keep looking down here to check the time, and it looks like we're getting close to the cutoff. So I'll leave you guys with that. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for letting me ramble to you. Hopefully this was coherent enough to take something away from it. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Happy holidays. I don't know, this probably go up a little bit later, but it's a little bit before New Year's when I'm shooting this. But I appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.